Jessica, go ahead.
Good morning. Today is Wednesday, January 15, 2025. This is a meeting of the El Paso County Women's Commission. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 is public comment. We do have one speaker signed up for public comment. It will be Michelle Cochran.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michelle Cochran with County Administration. I just wanted to take this time, I know you met Ms. Everugues, but just publicly to say that Ms. Everugues is our new legal advisor for the Women's Commission. Claudia Aranda moved to the District Attorney's Office under the new administration. And I'm excited to have Evet. Sad to lose Claudia, but I'm excited to have Evet. She and I worked together for many years in human resources, and so we have a wonderful asset joining us.
Good morning, Commission. I had the pleasure of formally introducing myself, with the exception to one, but I look forward to working with you all and serving as your legal advisor. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome.
And then, Jessica, we have one more public comment that Ms. Chair Rodriguez would like to do.
I just want to make sure we take a moment to recognize the continued leadership and inspiration brought to this commission, but to this entire community by Dr. Paz. She's being recognized tomorrow as a pioneer in innovation, and we're so very proud of her, and also hope she's proud of herself. Yeah. Thank you for all you do and for your vision and your leadership.
Oh, thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's sweet.
Thank you. Item number 4 from the regular agenda, 4A, approve the minutes from the November 20th, 2024 meeting.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michelle Cochran with County Administration. I apologize. Let me pull those minutes up to share on screen real quickly. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the link from the agenda, but if you give me one moment. Jessica, are you in one meeting? It's slow on my computer. Could you pull that up?
I'm able to send them over to you.
Yep, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, here are your minutes from the November meeting. If there are not any corrections, I would ask for a motion to approve.
So move. A second.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Boche.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, real quick. Can you pull it up one more time?
Yes.
I just noticed something. Can you go up?
Sure.
Up. Right here. Where it says absent, what is that? Oh,
You were absent for that vote. I believe the three of you
gotcha.
came in late.
Okay, sounds good.
A little
Yeah.
late, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I just want to be sure.
Commissioner Tiscareno?
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd?
Aye.
Commissioner Paz?
Aye.
Commissioner Chavira?
Aye.
Commissioner Chu?
Aye.
Commissioner Hargrove?
Aye.
Chairwoman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 4B, receive an update from the Criminal Justice Department regarding family violence cases.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michelle Cochran with County Administration. As requested, I have asked Ms. Catherine Jones to join us today to give us an update on the wonderful things that she is trying to do for this program. So with that, Ms. Jones?
Good morning.
Good morning, esteemed members of the Women's Commission. I'm Catherine Jones, Criminal Justice Director with the Criminal Justice Coordination Department. I am honored to be here with you today. I appreciate your commitment and the work that you are doing to raise awareness and to assistance for women in this community. At the end of this year, I'm going to be entering my 35th year in criminal justice, which is very scary. And 27 of those years I spent working in the field of corrections. And my very first job as warden, when I look back, was the warden of a female institution. I learned some of the most valuable lessons that I've ever learned working at that institution. And what it did was raise a passion and desire in me to help fix some of the problems that women face in the criminal justice system. Unfortunately, oftentimes women enter the criminal justice system as victims and they are re-victimized. And that is something that I have spent a long time in my career trying to work on. So here in El Paso County, there's a few things we are doing as a department to attempt to assist women involved in our justice system. We provide 3 key services through the Criminal Justice Coordination Department. We have an assessment and intake unit, and that is housed at the downtown detention facility. We work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, providing risk assessments for every individual who is arrested in this county on anything above a Class C misdemeanor and a non-federal arrest. So we see thousands and thousands. We typically perform between 14 and 15,000 risk assessments annually. We also perform financial affidavits to help individuals who are indigent get court-appointed attorneys. Right now, the county is averaging 88% of defendants who come before us as indigent. And virtually every female that comes before us is deemed indigent and eligible to receive a court-appointed attorney. So the next step in the system is if you are given a personal bond, or what is known in El Paso County as a split bond, which is where you have to pay a cash or surety component, but the court deems that you should be supervised through the pretrial process, you come to us. And I have 18 supervision officers who right now are supervising 5,000 defendants with over 7,000 cases. Okay, so they are very, very busy. We have, when I came on board, I created what are called specialized caseloads to help people. We have DWI officers. I have 5 of those who are assigned to monitor individuals with DWI conditions. We have 2 mental health officers who focus and specialize on working with individuals with mental illnesses. We also have low intensity for those people who don't have to report in person, and we have high intensity for people who have to report twice a month, once a month, twice a month. We've got some judges who go rogue on us, unfortunately, and shove them. We have one judge who wants someone to be seen every single day. So that's what our supervision unit does. In December of 2022, I was given the Reentry Support Services unit. And this unit is dedicated to helping people who are exiting the county jail get the resources they need to thrive, survive, and hopefully not rehabilitate. In this program, we have what is called Project Chance. And it is at the jail annex. We have 3 pods that are dedicated to us in the special section unit. 2 of them are for men, 1 of them is for women, okay? We have an incredible program there for women. They get life skills training, they get employment training, they can get their GED, they get parenting classes. We have an instructor in there full-time who works with them daily, attempting to help them understand why they got from point A to the jail annex. And this is a 90-day program, and it helps people rediscover life skills and rediscover opportunities when they exit the jail. We have a young woman who went through the program, started working on her GED inside the jail. When she was released, she finished it when she got out of the jail. That's an incredible success story for us. I'm going to go rogue here. I don't know if this is something that you do. Michelle-
never at the
Michelle
Women's
might
Commission.
beat me up afterward. If you ever have the opportunity for a field trip and you want to come to the jail annex and you want to see Project Chance, our female pod, I would invite you, I would encourage you. It is amazing, and it is incredible the work that we are able to do with these women. And women have very, very different needs than men in prison. We also are just now starting a special program through Commissioner Coronado's vision called the El Paso Promise Program. And we're going to be providing job skills training and educational training to individuals, justice-involved individuals aged 17 to 28. Okay? We are going to be able to provide them with certifications. If we're going to help work with them to identify the career path that they want and what is best for them based on their skills, their interests, and we are going to get them free education. With this, we're going to be able to provide wraparound services like childcare, transportation, and any needs that they might have. We're very excited. On January 27th, we're going to have our first 4 memorandums of understanding coming before Commissioners Court for approval for this. I think we're going to be able to make an incredible impact in the lives of some young men and women in the criminal justice system. We chose this age range. We call them transition age youth because they're not so invested in the criminal justice system that it is impossible for them to, without intensive rehabilitation, to get out there and find employment. We're going to be able to change their lives right now while their brain is still malleable, and we can help them move on in a different direction with their life. Now, a big, huge focus of mine in my career has been family violence. When I got to El Paso, there are 2 things I noticed. Number 1 is we have an uptick in DWI and assault family violence during the holidays. This rang true very much so in 2024 during this holiday period. The number of assault family violence that we saw come through were incredible. And the DWIs, obviously, you mix a little alcohol, people are together for extended periods of time, and horrible things happen. The other time, unfortunately, and I wish I were kidding here, is when the Dallas Cowboys lose. I know, it's a fact. You will see more DWIs and more assault family violences when the Cowboys lose. I've never been a Cowboys fan, but now I'm rooting for them. Okay? I am rooting for them because I hate to see. I hate to see things happen because of something as inconsequential as a football game. Right?
That's sort of infuriating.
So, keeping that in mind, we've begun working on and developing 3 programs. One of them is with this wonderful woman behind me, Judge Vasquez. Okay? She had the brilliant idea to work on a family violence court, which is so desperately needed. And we are looking at grants and other innovative ways to try to pay for, we want a specialized supervision officer who can work with these defendants through her court, can assist her with her needs, and be able to provide the intensive and helpful supervision that our domestic violence defendants need. I'm sorry if I interchanged domestic violence and family violence, because where I came from, it was domestic violence, so. But the assault family violence cases. The other thing that we have been working on is we would like to receive grant funding, and we're working on that this year, to create a program with the district attorney's office where when we discover that a violent offender, it could be assault family violence, it could be sexual assault, but it's a crime against women. We know that they have absconded from the jurisdiction, or they have stopped reporting, we cannot locate them, we can't get eyes on them. We will work with the district attorney's office to notify the victims and to let the victims know. We have a greater emphasis in our office right now in listening to our victims. So we're in a unique position, right? Because everyone who comes before us is innocent unless they are proven guilty in a court of law. That's the basis of our system, and that's the basis of what we do, because everything we do is pretrial adjudication. So we have to keep that in mind. However, we also understand, and an emphasis I have, is understanding that there are victims of crimes, and these victims have a voice. So it is our policy, whenever we receive notification from a victim, and we have a defendant who has a court order, to not contact them. We immediately notify law enforcement, we notify the court, we let them know a condition of this bond order has been broken. And we do everything we can to attempt to mitigate the risk to the victims. Finally, I am working right now on a new program to help women, justice-involved women who have been victims of family violence. The interesting thing about family violence is when you look at both the perpetrators and the victims, both of them score very high on the adverse childhood experience spectrum. When you do this analysis and you look at it, both of them have experienced excessive adverse childhood experiences, such as sexual trauma. They've seen fighting and violence in the family. And it's time that we figure out a way to break this cycle, right? We want to create a program and work more with women in the justice system to teach them. Every time you are there standing in that room and your child sees you get hit, your child is more likely to hit or become a victim of the same thing. And we've got to break this cycle. So we are working very hard to create this program with our reentry support services to attempt to help women overcome the trauma that has occurred that is holding them down and keeping them the victims of crime. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know, when are you looking forward to this program actually starting?
So some of it is contingent upon funding, so, but some of it is not. We are looking to start it in the summer with the women that we already have in Project Chance. We are beginning assessments, beginning the adverse childhood experience assessment on our participants in Project Chance, because for me, you know, throughout my career, I've always done the ACE assessment on people, because I think it is the biggest indicator of whether or not they're going to have the potential to commit violent acts. And it also tells us if this individual has the ability to be rehabilitated. So, so we're starting that. And in June, we're working with a couple of organizations and also training our staff to go in and begin the process of working with women who have been victims. One thing, and this is anecdotal, but one thing I've seen throughout my career, the majority of women I see in the criminal justice system are victims. They are victims of family violence, they are victims of sexual assault, they are victims of exploitation. And all of these things impact every action they take in life. So the more we can do to help women recognize, this is why I am where I am now, these are the steps I can take to overcome this. And when we incorporate that with job training, with education, with helping them find employment and getting them gainfully employed in the workforce so they can provide for their family, they can take care of themselves and not be reliant on the individuals who have been perpetrating the violence against them, the better we're going to be able. So I'm hoping in June.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
To start the program, how many women do you think it will actually start with?
So if I'm looking at my Project Chance Pod, I'm
Right.
looking at 30 women.
I have a question
Yes, ma'am.
regarding the program. Who's paying for the program? Does it have a duration time? I mean, how long it's going to last?
Sure, it's
And
going
who are, I'm sorry,
No.
and who are the instructors? Who's going to be administering it?
So I have a certified instructor right now employed with my department who works with the women. And then I have 2 certified instructors who each work with men. I do have a woman working with the women because we know studies show that women typically lose some of the aggression that comes when working with men, because a lot of times they view men as perpetrators. So we have a woman who is in there, she's exceptional, and she is trained to do this. We are working with Liviane right now to assist us in this also. They provide the parenting classes for us in Project Chance. And the funding is just coming from my budget right now.
Okay.
We are doing this, what I would like to do, and we are looking at, the BJA just released an innovations in reentry grant, and we are looking at attempting to create a whole program for both men and women on family violence with this grant through our reentry support services.
Can I ask the total cost of the program?
I'm sorry?
The total cost of the program?
The total cost of the program right now, it's not going to, so because the MOUs that we do are free of charge.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Everything we do, we attempt to do for free. We get community partners to help us.
Great.
And so within our own program, we already have a person assigned to this.
Okay.
It's really the cost of additional training, and we're estimating that to be under $3,000.
Wow. So feasible.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what does the certification look like, right? This is because this sounds different from parenting classes and employment classes. How is instruction different in terms of dealing with generational trauma and unpacking that, which obviously probably involves some mental health support? I'm curious just to have a better picture of what it looks
Sure,
like.
and that'd be something I'd be more than happy to share with you, what the typical curriculum looks like and what this program design will look like. We're using a program design that I have previously created and used in several prisons around the world. And so the cost for design is nothing because it's mine.
It's yours.
It's mine. It's mine. And then additional certifications. I'm actually thinking about coming in and teaching a couple of the classes each week to the women. That's something I've done previously and really enjoy. So I'd be more than happy to share that with the commission.
Would love to see it, yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Another question.
Yes, ma'am.
You said it's 3,000. Is that a year, a month?
No, that would be just the initial costs I would like to send my teacher to a couple of classes to become more familiar. One of them is with the Adverse Childhood Experiences Assessment. And I'm able to do that and get training for her without having to send her because I worked with a professor at Florida State University who was one of the pioneers and creators of this, and she's willing to help provide training virtually for my staff at a very reduced cost. And then there is another program I'm looking at.
Do we have any data on success rates?
I'm sorry,
Success
I'm
rate. Do we
so-
have any data on success rates by any chance?
There have been studies that have been done. I will tell you, so I can give you data on programs that I have run. I have run one in Florida where we are looking at, and I think the last report I saw was looking at 67% success rate in the women not recidivating over the course of a decade.
Wow.
Okay, a decade, which is pretty monumental. And we also, as I recall, it was in 70 to 75% of them did not re-enter the family situation that created the violence, which was also pretty phenomenal. Interestingly enough, I created this program in a Muslim country. And obviously our success rates were not as high, right? So we saw about a 20% success rate right there working with the women, which was actually better than I thought it would be. So that was something good. I also have a program like this in Africa where we are seeing success rates bordering right around the 50%.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we have the capacity to do a lot more here in the United States because we have a lot more robust services that we can assist.
Well, and it sounds like it's dependent on the conditions of the environment where women
Absolutely.
are, right? So like, what does the liberation system look like? Like, what experiences have they had accessing education and basic freedoms? That certainly.
Absolutely.
And I think it would apply on the border, right? Like, we've got some cultural limitations, for sure.
Ms. Jones, I have a number of questions.
Oh, yes.
As we started. My first question is, when you first start, when you do the risk assessment, not exactly, but more or less, what risks are you looking for?
Sure. So our assessment intake unit uses the El Paso pretrial risk assessment. This is a tool that was created and has been most recently researched by UTEP in October of 2023 and proven to have no gender or racial bias. And through this, what we are looking at, we are trying to determine an individual's success through the pretrial process to not get rearrested, to attend all of their court appearances, and to abide by the conditions of their bond. So it's actually a pretty simple little assessment, but it is incredibly accurate and very good. And it was made for this community.
Right, I'm okay. The next question I have is on the El Paso Promise program.
Yes, ma'am.
How, first of all, how's that going to be funded?
Your Honor, what a wonderful question. And so, I have been tasked with creating the El Paso Promise program. I will commend Commissioners Court during a very tight budget year. Last year, they gave me a position. I have an El Paso Promise Plus program coordinator who is doing this. She is the person. She is it. She is the expense. We have been very strategic in forming partnerships at no cost. Now, we did, through the ARPA funding, we released an RFP. It feels like 100 years ago. It took me so long to get this this thing through. But we have a partnership now. We are providing money for infrastructure for the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank. So we are purchasing a really huge piece of equipment that has to be custom made for them. And with that, we are guaranteed for the next 7 years, every quarter, 10 justice-involved slots in their Sparks program. Their Sparks program is amazing. That's another field trip that you should go to. Michelle's going to beat me up. But it's an incredible program where they are providing people with true workforce training. And what I love about it, I think it's 8 weeks, and it's completely free of charge. They get food while they're there. We can help with transportation. They are getting certifications, things like forklifts. They can get their warehouse logistics certification, which is huge, especially in El Paso, because we've got a lot of warehouses here. Things that some of the big companies have said their people don't even have, certifications that are very needed. And it's an incredible program. They spend half their day learning. They spend the other half of their day providing services to people. They are handing out food. They are helping people in need, which is so impactful because you're helping other humans while you're being helped. And it really, some of the individuals, I went to the very first graduation, and I'm a pretty hard person, okay? I've been in this field so long, I've seen it all. I was in tears. We had one man get up there and speak, and it was so beautiful. He's justice involved, and this has completely changed his life. And he was walking out of there with a job, okay? Walking out with a job. And one of the things they all said was being able to help while they were there. They're being helped, but they're helping other people, and it made all the difference for them. It's an incredible program.
I have visited the El Paso's Fighting Hunger facility, and it is amazing. Susan Goodell is like a gift to El Paso. It's amazing, so I encourage anybody who's, and it really is amazing. I am also curious then, Ms. Jones, about, so you're in the process of setting this up, is what I'm hearing. Okay. What communications are existing? And let me preface this question. In September, we made recommendations to the Commissioners Court. Many of the things that you're talking about were sort of a part of our presentation, including Judge Vasquez's court, to really support that and to support something like what you were talking about. We really, for example, with the work with the DA's office. So that was an important part of the presentation, don't you all agree, of what we gave to commissioners as a recommendation? And so my question is, as you put all this together, what communications are existing, what takes place between, for example, someone from the District Attorney's Office, Judge Vasquez, you, whoever else needs to be involved, some of your folks, what communication, the Center for Family what communication is taking place between your MOUs that are taking place so that everybody knows what's going on in the community and can fill in or help or say, I can do that? Is there any of that going on? Any roundtable discussions?
So, Your Honor, that is a brilliant question, and I have a feeling you have experience with El Paso County. One thing I think that we are trying to break down is we are very siloed.
Exactly.
And are we having a roundtable? No. Other than with Judge Vasquez. She brought everybody in. She had a roundtable around her treatment court. She's the biggest advocate we have right now. And we are hoping, Your Honor, with a new regime in the District Attorney's Office that we're going to be able to have better communication. We have met, we have discussed some exciting things with him. We are looking at creating a pretrial diversion program with our El Paso Promise. So we take these misdemeanors and these young people, and if they go through the El Paso Promise program, if they get their certification, if they get their education, no charges will ultimately,
That's sort of Judge Vasquez's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Similar, just not
That's it,
specific
yeah.
to family violence.
Well,
so do we need better communication? 100%. I can call meetings, people don't listen, right? I think if the Women's Commission called for a summit on family violence, called for a summit on women in criminal justice, which I think is twofold. Number one, I mean, I started my career relatively young. It is not easy being a woman in the field of criminal justice. It is not. It was a lot worse back then. But the things that I have gone through, that I have put up with, especially when I was young, I would never put up with that today. So I feel like it is incumbent upon me to train the next generation of women in criminal justice, to develop them to be strong. You know, there's something I always told my daughter. When you walk into a room, you don't ask for respect. When you walk into a room, you demand respect. You get respect because you are standing in that room and you are an equal. And that is what we need to teach women. And I think we woefully fail, okay, as a society. I mean, we put up with so many things that we shouldn't as women. And we need to stand together and band together. I was so excited when this Women's Commission was formed because I think you have the capacity and the ability to make true changes in this community and really help women. And I would love to see a summit on criminal justice, women in the system. What can we do to help them? And we've got a lot right now of youthful offenders, young women. I'm seeing 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds who are being arrested for stupid things. And we've got to stop this. We have got to stop it.
well, Ms. Jones, I love the idea of the summit. Not sure that we have the, and if anybody could put together a summit, is there women sitting right here at this table, I'm telling you. But I'm not sure, we would have to make sure with our legal counsel that we're here to make some recommendations to the Commissioners Court. We hope they listen to our recommendations. I love the idea of a summit. That might be one of our next recommendations, but we would have to get approval, I think. But I just want to thank you for the energy and the expertise that you are bringing to El Paso County. Thank you so much. And Judge Vasquez, thank you. You know, sometimes when the judge calls a meeting, a few more people may attend. Yeah. That's what so thank you for, maybe, I don't know, maybe we can call a summit through, I don't know. But actually, those are. I thought about that. I was like, maybe I could help with that. Yeah, so.
I think a
we
combined
can
strategic
brainstorm.
call
Yeah,
from
there's-
several
yeah, there's-
several
we can
different
brainstorm. But
directions.
thank you for both of you.
Yeah.
Because so much of what you're talking about today, we have we've gathered data, we've done so much work, but it's like, who knows who's on first base? Who knows who's on second base? Who, you know, nobody, it's like nobody knows because there's never been a round table that I am aware of where everybody came together and said, how do we do this? How do we make it work as a whole community and not just, as you said, different silos doing different things, so. But thank you for your work. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Vasquez, so much. Thank you both.
One thing I teach all my new staff, I love to hire young people just out of college so I can train them in developing. The first thing I teach them is when a judge speaks, you say, yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. So if you called it, Judge Vasquez called it.
Yeah.
I do have a couple questions.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much. I love the idea of a summit too. New Mexico is actually going to have one very soon for women in law enforcement. So, hint, hint. So, two questions. I lost my spot. So, with the programs, is there any sort of public education opportunities available to help break that cycle of the childhood trauma, continued recidivism? Because I see internally that could work, but is that something we could expand out into the public?
I think that's the only way for us to be effective is for that to happen, right? Because, yeah, we can talk to 30 women at a time, and maybe we can reach 10 of them. But it's the community as a whole that needs to see this. Because, you know, for every woman we know, for every assault, family violence arrest there are 10 more that we don't know about that are happening. And we do need to educate the community. How I fit into that, I mean, I'd be more than happy to be an advocate, but for my department, I'd be overstepping what I do. I think Judge Vasquez would be if I volunteer her for things, don't hold me in contempt, Your Honor. But I mean, you need voices we have so many incredible women judges here at the county. And I mean, I think we have to educate. The answer is, I'm not sure how.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, absolutely. As you said, you know, there's a breakdown in society, and we have to go beyond internally. We have to hit our men as well. So there's that.
Which absolutely, which is why and if we're awarded this innovations program, we're going to start attacking the men, right? We're going to, and I don't mean literally attacking, but I mean, we're going to begin.
I was going to say language.
Either's fine with me.
We're going to begin the education and the going out there and working with everyone that we see. There, you know, it goes beyond anger management classes that you have to do because it's been court ordered. This is looking at dealing with the trauma from your own life that you don't even know exists.
Right.
And you guys know this better than me, but there is this machismo culture here that is really overwhelming that I've never really seen to this level. And I don't know how to break that down.
Right.
But we've got to start educating men to understand why they behave the way that they behave.
And Commissioner
Yeah.
Hargrove, if I may, so at this point, the program that launches in the summer, does it pull family members in? Does it
No.
provide, it's really centered on the victim, the woman?
Only on the women. That's all I'm going to be able to do right now.
Right. Which of course is beautiful, but happening in a vacuum. Because
Yes.
at the end of the
Yeah,
day, they've still got to re-enter.
No, and it's really just beginning to like maybe pick away at a huge problem. So, I mean, if I had millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, we could build an incredible family violence program where we are working with the women, we are working with the men, we are helping the children to understand what they've experienced, but I don't have millions and millions.
Yes.
Well, and this speaks to the need for that summit and that roundtable, right? Because if in the situation where you are not able, because of the lane you're in, where do community partners step in to make sure, is there a link now? We have this woman receiving this service, where's the family? And how do we identify the family?
Yeah.
That is looking at me nodding.
Yes.
And hopefully for now, at least, what the women are learning, they can break that cycle with not just with their words, but with demonstrating to their children as well. You know, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable, at least for now until we're able to get more into the public education. With that said, Rio Vista Behavioral Health is having a youth summit next month, and that's some of the things they're going to talk about is dating violence and drug use and things like that. So I think that's great. A community partner is hosting something like that.
I'm so glad because that's where it starts, the dating violence.
Yes.
Right? If it's acceptable, then it just becomes acceptable for the rest of your life.
Yes. And my second question was with the wraparound services, particularly for veterans, are they getting connected to the resources in the community, especially our women veterans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. We have a very robust veterans program with our reentry support services, and we are connecting all veterans who are interested,
Okay.
obviously.
Yes.
And we can't mandate anything, but we handhold and we connect them to the services. The other positive thing that came out of the ARPA contracts is the CJC now has guaranteed 95 beds at any given point in time for people who have no place to live. So, and with that, we've got substance abuse treatment, we've got vocational training, and so we've got places to house people who don't have any place to go. So like for Project Chance, if I have a woman coming out who recognizes, you know what, I can't go back home. I can't do it, I can't go there, we can help her find a place, a safe place where she can be.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Well, and I think I speak for everyone here, I would love to visit Project Chance. I mean, would you
Yes,
all?
please.
I would love to.
Yes.
I think the more information we have as well, the better we're able to fulfill our mission of understanding sort of this community impact and help make recommendations anyway.
I would love that, and I think it would be incredibly important for the participants of the program to see women come in there and be interested.
Absolutely.
And see women who've succeeded, who sit on this commission. I think that would be beneficial for our participants.
So we'll work with Michelle to maybe organize
To
that,
schedule
and with you to coordinate with you. And where is it?
It's at the jail annex out on East Montana.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Out in Precinct 1, I understand. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
right? Michelle, I think that's Precinct 1.
it is.
Yeah, okay.
It's far.
Thank you, Your
Thank
Honor.
you.
Thank you so
for
much.
your
so
time.
much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
for your
very
Thank you
power.
so much.
Everything
Thanks
you
for
do.
being
Yeah,
here.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Maybe our next meeting can be a field trip.
Yeah.
I would love that. Judge Vasquez? Give us an update on your court. How are you doing?
No, not at all.
I'm fine, thank you.
No,
And
that's
I guess
okay.
before,
I think she has to
don't know if
introduce
Ms.
the
Jones
item,
has to
Okay, hold
leave.
on
or-
one second.
I think we need the item introduced.
Okay.
Yes, no, go ahead and stay up there, Judge, but Jessica, if you could read the next item into the record, please.
Okay, item 4C, discuss and take appropriate action on the pretrial program protection policy.
Thanks. All right, well, thank you very much, and good morning, Commissioners. Just before Ms. Jones, I don't know if she's staying or leaving, but I did want to say that she's been doing excellent work. I really appreciate your support, not only of my program, but of the courts in general, and we should all be really proud of our Criminal Justice Coordination Department. She's been
Yeah.
doing amazing work.
Thank
Okay, so as you know, right, we've been working toward doing the pretrial family violence program out of my court. Since I last spoke to you all, I actually had a really good meeting with Dr. Paz and her clinic, and I think that they're going to be an amazing resource for us. We're ready. I told the public defender in the court the other day that if they want to start referring people, I know we're waiting on a couple MOUs here and there, but I think everything is in place. And I was going to say that you're absolutely right, Judge, right, that we have the power to convene as judges. And so I was able to kind of bring everybody together, touch base. I think I'm going to do that one more time, just as we're getting up and running. But we're ready to go. So it's great, and hopefully everything works the way that it's supposed to. And I do know that the attorneys, the public defenders mostly, because they're the ones that I've talked to more about than the private bar. At some point, I need to have a meeting with the private bar to make them aware of the program. But the district attorney's office has been great in their support. They just hired a new family violence chief for the misdemeanor courts, Frances Maldonado, who I worked with before. She came in and talked to me about the program, and they are committed to working with us as well. And I know that Kelly Childress from the Public Defender's Office has been very supportive. She always sends Joanne Jacinto, who I mean, knows more than I think anybody about specialty court programs in the county, other than maybe Judge Anchondo. And they're supportive as well, and so we're ready to go.
Great.
Such wonderful news.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bravo.
I'm excited,
Yeah.
so, yes, so there's one person that the other day, the public defender said, I think this one might be somebody that we consider for the specialty court, and I was like, that's great, I have a note on it, I'm gonna follow up with them and see if hopefully we get our first participant.
Judge, I'm just going to ask, so is it up to the attorneys to refer
Yes.
them to you? Okay.
Right, because I
that's fine.
can't mandate them to
Right.
have them participate. So what will happen is that either the district attorney or the public defender or the private attorney, depending on who the person has, will suggest them, then they have to agree that it's somebody that they're going to refer to the program. And that's how we'll start with participants. So we're scheduled to do the staffing portion, probably between 1 and 2 on Mondays, and then have the actual hearings between 2 and 4.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Well, we'll see. I don't have anybody yet. But at
Well,
least
but I think
the
we
structure's
know,
there,
right.
and like I said, thank you for our partners, right? So much CJC, who is really doing, I think, the bulk of our work. And then Dr. Paz's clinic too, right? That's really going to help us, because what Ms. Jones was saying is absolutely true. In family violence, we do see all that adverse childhood experience. And that's why I was so glad when I talked to Judge Paz's staff, right? They're like, well, we'll do that, right? But we'll also make sure that, if there's any mental health conditions, that we're treating that as well. So it's great, right? Because they're going to provide not only that adverse childhood experience treatment, but more holistic treatment if the person also has mental health concerns, which is as much as we can ask for. Right.
I have two things, Judge.
ma'am.
So were you able to get funding, or how is that working?
We have no funding.
Okay.
No. And we're also looking for grants, and so right now, it's only, like Ms. Jones was saying, with community partners, right? I reduced the cost initially, the cost for the program participants, because I'm still of the opinion that there has to be a cost, because there has to be buy-in from the defendant, right? That they actually have to put money on the table to say, I'm committed to participating in this program. I'd originally started at 500, but following that with conversations with the Council of Judges, right, talking to CJC, and just the realization that most of our community is indigent, that's now reduced to 200, right? And I actually think that if there's somebody who is a good participant that honestly can't pay that, we'll probably offset that with community service, right? But that's after, obviously, the financial assessment is done to make sure that they truly cannot pay.
I may have brought this up the last time you briefed us, but in September, the Texas Veterans Commission's grants open up for applications. So you may want to consider applying, especially to help support those veterans who are in the program.
Sure, I'll look into that, right? Obviously, we do have a veterans court program, so
Yes.
it's possible that would go to them. But if it's somebody with family violence issues who's also a veteran, we'd be happy to take them.
I'm sure
I
Texas
wonder
Veterans
how that
Commission,
works.
yeah.
Is that a situation where you can only use it, though, for the people that are participants that are veterans?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not well versed on how the financial grants work, but they've given this last year, I think, was over $7 billion statewide to organizations across, statewide, who support veterans. And these organizations don't just solely give services to veterans. They service the whole community, but they can use that funding to help with the services they provide for veterans. So I'm not sure how the reporting process works, but the El Paso County Veterans Office might be able to give you more information on that.
I'll
I just
definitely
know
follow up
that
with
they
them.
open
Thank you
up.
very much. Yeah, no, thank you very much for the referral. So right now, like I said, we don't have any funding. Everybody that I've talked to is willing to provide their services without any cost. But it's mostly just partners like CJC, the Public Defender's Office, the District Attorney's Office. Dr. Boss, I know, explained to me that they have a sliding scale depending on indigency for the people that participate. The Batters Intervention Prevention Program providers, I think, are going to be the biggest expense, which is part of why I have that reduced cost. And actually, I have on my agenda for my to-dos is to contact our 3 licensed providers in El Paso to talk to them about the program, because otherwise we're just going to refer people to BIP. But that's it.
It's great.
Michelle, just as a general reminder question, and I apologize if I missed the answer last meeting, can we double check, because I think all of us agreed we're keen on at least assisting in identifying possible grant pockets. Do we know if we're allowed to do that or able, to what extent we're able to provide
Sure. So,
support in finding funding?
well, it'd be
right?
more of a recommendation to the court to have staff identify that type of funding. And what we were posted on the agenda today, Judge Vasquez gratefully was able to join us. We weren't sure if she was going to be able to until.
My trial canceled, yes. So.
Yes. So what we actually posted for is what we discussed last time, to discuss and take appropriate action on the pretrial protection policy.
Okay.
And so it doesn't necessarily need to be in the form of a policy, but a recommendation to the court to perhaps include it in their strategic plan in the next year or 5 years. They'll be going through that process in a couple of months.
Okay.
And so you can do so via a policy recommendation or just a recommendation to include in future budget years, should it exist, maybe perhaps once more data is available after this initial year, we have more information on costs internally and externally. And thankfully, we have these wonderful community partners who are willing to assist us, which is awesome.
But of course, the burden then falls on them.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have the authority necessarily to specifically direct staff, but you can direct me, for example, to go to Betsy or the court, or you all can go to the court, provide an update, and ask that they direct the grants department, for example, to identify funding specifically for
So
that.
just FYI, right, if that's something that you all are considering, I've already talked to the grants department. So I've been talking to Leticia, who works in the county grants office, and she's been helping me to try to put together grants. But additionally, the Council of Judges recently trained 2 of their internal staff on grants application. So one of them is Diana Delgadillo, and the other one is Naomi Garcia. And both of them are actually, as we speak, helping me to get grant, or to find grants that would be helpful and apply for those. I was actually also talking to Ms. Jones's office, so Chris, who works with her, also is always looking for grants. He did an excellent job last year of applying for grants. We were just talking about one in December that is available in January to apply for, which we thought fit. Unfortunately, they only do one grant application per entity, and so somebody beat us from El Paso County to it. Yeah, that's okay though. So, but they're always coming up, right? So they're always coming up, and so I do already have the county grants office and COJ working on helping me with grant applications.
That's great.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, the only funding that I see that would be really, really helpful at this point would probably be like a part-time coordinator, right? Somebody that I could have that does intake and review, like document review with the defendant when they sign up for the program. But CJC has told me that they can help us with that until we're able to get some funding to fill that spot, as they do part of their intake and assessment part. And then the other portion would be just to help offset some of the costs for participants, right? So if it's so that we can maybe support Dr. Paz or for the Batter's Intervention Prevention Program, to be able to offset some of that cost, but until such time, right? Right now, when a person is, has a family violence case and gets referred to the pretrial diversion department, they still do BIP, right? That's generally the program that they're referred to. So they're already paying for that, and they would have already been paying for that if they were going to pretrial diversion. And then there's a monthly cost for participating in pretrial diversion. So we're only slightly more expensive.
And I misspoke. It's not 7 billion, it's 7 million. Just want to put it out there.
Still impressive.
Still impressive.
All right.
Thank
Okay, do
you.
you all have any other questions for me?
Just applause.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I will be reaching out to your office and really your office, probably in the next week or so to actually try to convene people so that we can make sure that we're all on the same page as we launch.
Sounds good.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
so much.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Judge.
Both Ms. Jones. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Good. We'll be in touch. Thank you so much, Judge. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you. Judge. Thank you. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
So before we go to the next item, the county does have under their strategic plan reform criminal justice. And so I think this would fall under
A
that
recommendation.
broad goal already.
Okay.
And so if it's this part-time individual that Judge Vasquez is identifying as the most helpful funding at this point, that could be the recommendation to the court to include in their strategic plan that when funding is available, that this part-time person is provided. And, you know, they're probably going to want some data and time under the program before they do
Right.
approve funding for it. But as you can see through Ms. Jones, the court is passionate about it. I mean, during a tight budget year, she got a position and positions were not given.
Right.
And so they are passionate about reforming, about criminal justice reform in our county.
And now, Michelle, how do we remind the Commissioners Court about the presentation we made in September, which really identified specifically this court, number one, and number two, the need for some of the resources that the court's going to need, which includes this primary. How do we make sure that they don't forget about this presentation? Because those were recommendations that we made in September. And that, all those recommendations were backed up with data that we collected over a year.
Yes, ma'am.
So how do we make sure that that we're not coming in cold, that we have in fact made these kinds of recommendations?
Great question, Judge. If you don't mind, if we could read in item D. I think it falls under that, and then we could discuss, and I'll
Okay.
share with you.
All right.
Okay, item 4D, discuss and take appropriate action regarding the Women's Commission's short and long-term tasks and goals to submit to Commissioners Court for consideration.
So what we could do, Judge, is at one of their special sessions, so the court is having a special session next week, we can put an item on to provide an update to the court about that presentation and what additional information, things that are already happening, just to keep it at the forefront
Let's do that.
of their mind. Okay, I'd be happy to put an agenda item on next Thursday to do that. In addition, Evan and I were talking on the side when the discussion about the summit came up, as well
I think that
as.
was one of our recommendations.
I think we did talk.
Yeah, it
Because
was.
we've been talking about it really from the get-go, when we realized presentations were coming in, and it became evident just through the presentations
That's right.
that no one was talking to each other, which is the epidemic that every community faces, right, as far as organizing and partnerships go.
And so I think providing an update and notifying the court that you're going to put this call out and we're going to coordinate the summit would be ideal. The only action that you would need from the court on that is to approve the personnel that would be required, the resources that would be required internally to support that summit. But in discussing it, please chime in if I'm misspeaking, but we think it is within your authority to coordinate with the judges or other stakeholders to put out this call.
So Michelle, what I'm hearing you say is that it would be within our parameter of authority to be able to call a summit?
Yes, ma'am,
We can do that?
you
Yeah?
can, but I would recommend
Yeah, right.
you letting the commissioners
Oh, I
know
mean,
prior
in
to
fact,
doing so.
Not only would I want them to know, I would want them to say, oh, yeah, to be a part of it, right?
Yeah, I think it would
Buy into it,
undo
like-
the idea of a summit if we didn't let them know.
Yeah, yeah.
Out the gate, we're not
No,
communicating, yeah, of course.
I just didn't know if we even, that was a part of, within the parameters of what our authority was, that we could, I mean, we're
Right.
almost making a recommendation that they call a summit vis-à-vis the Women's Commission.
Correct, and the
Right.
only thing in that would be, they would have to approve the resources to support your
Okay.
summit. Does that make
Staff-
sense?
Which is
Yeah.
staff time.
Correct,
That would be a big deal.
Location.
right,
Yeah, definitely.
right.
That would be a big deal.
Well, and I think maybe then, Michelle, what does it need to look like for us to carve the subject, right? Like, or what is the exact focus of that summit going to be? Are we going to kind of blow it way out and it's a family violence summit? Are we going to really zoom in? How do we decide that? Do we need a work session? Do we need discussion?
I mean, you have
next
time
meeting?
today. Those were the biggest items on your agenda. I have just setting the agenda for next meeting, as well as the 2025 meeting date, time, and frequency. So you have some time today if you would like to engage in that conversation now. I mean, as you know, we can always
wanna think
schedule
about it?
special sessions, a work
come
session for you all. We can rearrange what we had planned. For the next 2 months for February, you had asked that I invite the new DA, sheriff, and Chief Bacias to meet. I don't know if you want to switch gears based on today's presentation and postpone that a little bit.
I think it would be, I mean, meeting the DA and the sheriff would be
I agree.
one of our top priority, at least. I mean, the summit definitely should be one of our, should be something that we definitely move forward to. It's definitely something that that you know our county can definitely benefit from. So, but if we have the DA and the sheriff's office, you know, that we can meet them and
I
maybe
agree.
get them on board as well.
I think
you know?
that they would be a part of the
Yeah,
summit,
for
right?
sure.
So,
Yeah. So.
So
Yeah, I don't think
can,
we should cancel it either.
yeah, can we double task? I mean, you know, people say chewing gum and walking at the same time. I don't know that I could do that, but can we double task? There's a special session, and when is that going to take place?
Next Thursday.
See,
And
I hate to
so,
lose that special session because that's important.
right.
As a little remembrance of what we did. How do we do, I mean, how do we do that? Because I hate to lose the special session. At the same time, absolutely correct, we need to have
Yeah.
buy-in from the DA, from the sheriff, from all of those folks, because we have egos to deal with, we have, we want buy-in from everybody.
Is
you know.
Well, and I don't think we lose the special session. I think we're just requesting
I'm going to put an update,
Yeah,
from the-
just
receive
an
an update from the Women's
them.
Commission.
So it'd be the
just-
court
And at
giving
that
us that
special
update.
session, can we mention the
All the recommendations?
summit?
I would recommend you do,
Yes.
as well as letting them know prior to me reaching out that we're going to be reaching out to the DA, the sheriff, and Chief Pacias as well.
Okay.
Also, how many new county commissioners do we have that didn't hear our presentation in September?
One.
You have one new
Just
county
one?
commissioner,
Okay.
but she was on staff for Commissioner
Okay, so she
Leon,
did-
so she heard the
okay. So the
presentation.
information's the same.
So may I make a suggestion too for that special session? If we can't make it in person, we can always do public comment on the items and express our support, state that we are on the Women's Commission, we absolutely support this item, et cetera, for one thing. And in the meantime, maybe we can schedule special sessions with our, special sessions with our commission and those that we want that buy-in from, to discuss hosting a summit. And then once we have some, support, we can present that as well to the Commissioners Court.
And to go back to Judge Chu's question and to add to that, you all can create a subcommittee for that summit.
Let's do that.
So that you don't have to wait till your monthly meetings to discuss. That might be
That was
a
going
more
to be
efficient.
maybe my recommendation. I think between now and our next meeting, if we were to create a subcommittee, we can begin to hone in on the focus of the summit, the structure of the summit,
And players?
players at the table, things like that, which we need feedback, right, from
Yes.
court and a lot of the folks that are giving us presentations.
And if there's a subcommittee, they just have to be careful that the only thing they discuss is that summit.
Correct.
Correct, yeah. So can we do it that way? We'll plan on, of course, the special session is Thursday, but then, between now and the next meeting, Michelle, what is the process for us forming the subcommittee? Can it just be via email? Watch us all end up on the subcommittee.
I know. We all want to be a part of it.
I would recommend you take a formal action here
Okay.
to establish a subcommittee.
Okay, so then I make a motion to establish a formal subcommittee to plan and coordinate a summit through the Women's Commission hosted potentially by the county and other interested parties.
I second it.
Okay, we got a second, okay.
That's that 2 times 5, it makes 10 seconds. I like it.
Commissioner Chavira,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiscareno,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu,
Aye.
Commissioner Byrd,
Aye.
Commissioner Paz.
Aye.
Commissioner Harcrow,
Aye.
and Chairwoman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
How exciting.
That is exciting, yeah.
So I will add the agenda item for next Thursday to update the Commissioners Court on the Women's Commission recommendations as presented in September of 2024. You don't have to do a formal presentation. If you are, we have very little time to
Yeah.
get that created and submitted, or it could just be a verbal update as
I
well.
think just,
Okay.
And maybe the focus is this summit, right? Like we've spent,
Do we want some of our members to come?
I always
you all-
think, Commissioner Byrd, I think that's person is sitting there, it's a lot harder to ignore.
Yes.
So
And
I think it would behoove us if one or two showed up and just say, this is so important to us that we're here today.
I agree, Judge. I'm happy to give an update always as your liaison, but it is, I think, better if one or two or three of you can be in attendance.
happy to be here.
Just
What's the
a,
date?
I will come.
The 23rd, and we begin at 9 a.m.
just a
Can you
quick
let us know
question.
again, like, where the item is and about the general time to come?
I will as soon as we post the agenda.
Perfect.
Just a quick question. At this special session, we're just telling the Commissioners Court that this is what we're planning, right? Like, we don't have, say if they were to ask, like, well, what's going to be presented at the summit, or was this summit going to be centered around, what would we say?
Just let them
We
know you've
formed a
established a
subcommittee.
subcommittee to determine that.
Okay, okay.
Still
sounds good.
working on it.
To be determined.
Okay.
We just came up with
Just want to
this.
be sure what that,
OBD
yeah, that's
before.
why. I was like, well, what are we going to say?
No.
Yeah.
Notice
Okay.
we've been talking about it, but
Right.
it's definitely formalized today.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and truly, it's an update, right? You identified this, you had presented this roundtable as a recommendation in September, and this is where we're going. You're going with it. And so you can just let them know that the subcommittee will figure all those questions out and
Okay.
come back.
Perfect.
And
Cool.
then when can we identify the subcommittee now, and then in a subcommittee, if anybody wants to show up just to be as a ad hoc member or something like that, we could could
You
do that,
can,
right?
and I think that'd be a great idea to establish that today, Judge.
I think we should identify the subcommittee now.
I'm very excited.
I think it's going to be all of us. We're our
Could
own
the
subcommittee
subcommittee be everybody or
So
no?
just to understand the procedurally, right? So the subcommittee just allows us to discuss this out of regular meeting dates.
Correct.
It can be all of us.
Correct.
Oh, well, that's great.
Oh, that's good.
And it's all of us.
Well, and it's focused on,
The one thing.
On
So
one
one
thing,
item,
yeah, yeah.
one item has to
Right?
maintain the
Yeah.
one item.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
only on
I'm
the
so
summit.
in.
If you're in, raise your hand, like in
You
school.
guys-
Is that how,
I'll
can we,
understand that You guys do it. 'cause
say it like
you have
that?
The experience and,
Okay.
I mean, you do that thing, that's what, yeah.
Okay.
I just boss around.
Who did, that it?
Yes, I would like to be part of
And
it.
Commissioner,
I'm in.
Judge Chuno,
I'm an ad hoc member.
ad hoc, Commissioner Byrd.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
and you as well, Chair Rodriguez?
yes.
Oh, that was easy.
So basically all of us.
Fridays, all of us.
That was easy.
Okay, so the 23rd is when we come into commission.
Mm-hmm. Put it on my calendar.
I don't edit it now.
Oh, how great.
Are we still on item D?
You are, sorry, we were just
No
saying-
problem.
commenting on the subcommittee due to the amount of individuals. We would recommend, Evan would recommend that we do post as a public meeting just because you will have quorum at that
No,
point.
of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. It's I wanted to bring up something with item D. I know we've been focusing, I guess, about a year and a half on domestic violence and women. I'm wondering if we can start to tap into maybe other issues and gaps within the community regarding women, not to forget about domestic violence, but start tapping into it, doing our thorough research and looking into it, identifying how we can resolve or work towards solutions. If I'd be very interested in what everyone else has to think about.
I think that when we decided to focus on domestic violence and family violence, it was really just a lens. It wasn't necessarily carving that as the only priority. I think we see it as, at that time, we saw it as the lens through which to see all the other issues. I would agree we have now entered a labyrinth so extensive that it is really the only thing we've been discussing directly. But I think in every presentation we've heard, right, like folks don't have access to the healthcare. They don't have access to the education from a very early age. It is, I think we saw it as the ultimate circumstance that a woman finds herself in because of all of the barriers in access to education, healthcare, economic mobility, right? So I agree. I think we had discussed, and correct me if I'm wrong, having presentations from other folks working in other areas.
We just, at the last meeting, the direction from you all was to focus on the recommendations that you presented to Commissioners Court.
Okay.
So we've not discussed scheduling those or where we would go. I did pull up in front of you the goals and priorities that you all worked on last year at your work session.
Yeah.
If you recall, you had these 3 broad goals, and then as you received information and research, it was, I believe, apparent that domestic violence was touching every single one
Right.
of these issues and seemed to be a root issue. And so that's just as a timeline. That's why we really went into domestic violence and where you all have decided to focus on that. So here are the areas that you had identified last December, and there were several. Next, from my notes, what I have was healthcare and
Right.
benefits. So if you would like me to start coordinating additional presentations and research, I'm happy to do so. But the direction I received in November was February would be the invitation of the DA, the sheriff, and Chief Pacias to your meeting. And in March, we were scheduling a work session to discuss that, to make recommendations to the court for their strategic plan, for inclusion in their strategic plan. And that's the last direction I had received.
So, Commissioner Hargrove and everyone, I feel healthcare feels the next obvious jump, right? We've heard so much about mental health disparity and mental health barriers and access to mental health services and support. And as we know, especially in the case of domestic violence and family violence, like follow-up with a healthcare provider is essential, and 87%, from what I'm hearing, is sort of the average rate that folks are not unable to access that care. I would love to jump straight into healthcare. I'm also obviously in that space, so I get more excited about that. But I think everything touches everything. So while I agree we can start to sort of drill down on some of these other carved issue areas, I do also think it's in our best, it would be best practice to always remind ourselves that every issue is touching every other one. And to keep that sort of zoomed out lens.
Commissioner Harker, are you thinking of something in particular, one area in particular?
No, not exactly, but I'm torn between healthcare and employment, because I mean I think education, of course, is important. But what I've noticed really across, not just in El Paso, but in the United States, is women are more educated than men, but we're having a hard time getting employment. They're hiring more men, so that might fall into the discrimination. I'm not entirely sure. That would be worth researching, but I'm tied between those two.
Well, and then seeing employment as the pathway to healthcare in our system, right? Like, I think it's essential to keep those two issues actually married.
And then, of course, we need,
Vice versa, and
That's
yeah,
true.
and then, of course, we need
We're
healthcare to
obviously
be employed.
biased,
So it's
but
like,
I'm biased to healthcare. I mean, you know, but I do believe healthcare and employment go hand in hand. If we're not healthy,
Very-
we can't
very
work,
true.
vice versa. And I don't know if you guys were aware, but the El Paso Public Department of Health did a needs assessment in 2022. And out of that needs assessment, what came out was limited access to healthcare by our El Pasoans. That's what they're claiming.
Yeah.
So if we can't get our women healthy, how can they work? So I think Xochitl's right. I think that if we tackle healthcare, we tackle employment and everything else. But of course, I'm also biased.
But that makes sense. If it's a public health assessment and this is what they're seeing, women are saying is a huge barrier for their quality of life, then let's do that.
Well, and I think asking there's no such thing as a wrong question, right? But being very specific about the questions we ask. So rather than a really generalized, what is the state of healthcare in the border region? What is the state of healthcare for unemployed women in the border region, right? Like, so that we're not, I don't want to say be wasting time, but like we are really focused in, we've identified the population that we're most concerned with. It's at 87%. And then the question is very specific so that we're not spending too much time with generalized information. And
no, that's fair. That's totally fair.
So as we move, what we're going to do, if I'm hearing correctly, is we're going to be focused on this summit. We have to get that design and that really get going. Number one, if that comes off well, that gives us a lot of street cred. When you have street cred, you can get a little bit more.
Just true, you are emitting street
That helps us when we tackle those other issues. And so and I think healthcare is important because in the next couple of years, who knows what's going to be taken away in terms of federal funds that help people with that healthcare issue.
Yeah.
And so that might be good, but really good to begin, really focusing on, drilling down on. But I would like us to really put a lot of attention on this summit because I do think that really gives us the street cred we need to move to the next. But in the meantime, I think, Commissioner, we can begin to collect that data that is specific to healthcare for women and women veterans. So we can do those both at the same time, but I think we really drill down on it once we get this summit organized and.
I think something that can also be beneficial from this summit is that we also hear from other programs or organizations that have heard what we might not have heard from the community about, what maybe the fears are for the next 4 years, for what the concerns are for, what's already been happening. We can hear a lot of information from this same summit, and, that gives us more of a pathway of moving forward as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry if someone else said that. I'm just
No,
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 that's
totally.
great, yeah.
Don't apologize.
We don't apologize on the
Bring in
dime.
people while we're working on, because the summit's going to take a while, but that doesn't mean that we cannot get presentations, you know what I mean, on this, and
Right.
we can
for sure.
attack that.
Well, for sure, in February, we do still want to hear.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a,
Right.
that's a
Yeah.
definite.
Well, and
Yeah.
now, I think we all probably know this already, but the subcommittee allows us, it'll be more time on our end.
Yes, for the summit.
Yeah,
exactly.
devoting, but we've got to carve out now for the summit in terms of our meeting times and availability. So maybe we can continue to use our monthlies for these presentations and to continue collecting data. You reminded me, not only should the question be, what is the experience of people accessing healthcare who are also unemployed? The experience of immigrants accessing healthcare is an important question, I think, right now, especially. It's timely. We've had discussions about some of the changes in screenings and questions being asked of patients that are now, hospitals, which is the majority of sites where immigrants rely on care, and undocumented, underdocumented folks rely on care for. So just making a mental note in all of our minds, not to forget that very specific question.
Just a quick question. For the subcommittee, how do we go about, I guess, scheduling that?
Yeah, we need to set a meeting, otherwise it gets, February will be here before we know it.
Yeah.
I think, don't you think?
We're halfway through.
It's already almost February.
I know.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
I know. I am happy to assist coordinating. Y'all can talk amongst yourself, establish the date and time, and then just let me know, and I could try to coordinate a space here for you, and then get the agenda posted. I would need that at a minimum.
Right.
Yeah.
How long does that special session meeting
I
last?
don't know what my calendar's going.
Oh, next week? It's scheduled from 9 to 2, and it's all dependent upon the items that are on the agenda. I know there's an update right now. We're going to add this item. I haven't looked at the items
Okay.
that
was
are
just-
going. Sometimes it doesn't last that long.
Yeah, I was just
Okay.
going to suggest if anybody was
already here.
coming to make the meeting that date, so that we'd all be here anyway, but I don't know if anybody's coming to that meeting.
I'll be here.
I'll
I'll
definitely
be
be there,
here, but
yeah.
I don't know that I'll have time
Right, to
to
do
also
something else.
meet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have to carve out
That was
just
just
to
a
come.
suggestion.
I'm
a
going to
good
try
one.
my best. I already have some pre-scheduled stuff, but I'll see if I can move them around to be here. I'll let Michelle know.
Yes.
And then, will you be able to tell us about what time?
I will once we have the final agenda. Yes, ma'am.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Okay.
I should be able to be
That'd be-
there.
that'd be good.
I would need to run to work after, so, but yeah.
So, then that way we can, when we put it on our schedules, we'll know about what time to be here.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, for
Because,
for the
yeah,
special.
because since it's
I put mine at
9:30 to
10,
2.
yeah. Okay, so now we need a date for the committee, the subcommittee?
First week of Feb, how would we feel about that?
Guys, I'm going to be out of town from the 31st to the 7th, and then again from the 28th to the 15th.
So second week of Feb?
Agree with me.
I think that works. It's right before our next meeting.
How
What
about the 10th, anybody?
My schedule is very much in flux right now, so I will just bookmark it and hold it.
What about the 12th, that Wednesday before?
Either,
No? Okay.
The 12th is a lot easier for me, but that's just me.
See, the 10th, I'll be here already.
Down to the 13th. The 13th. 13? Once?
I'm good. I can do virtual.
You can do virtual. No, it's true.
also true, it
That's
can
true.
be a
That's an
virtual
option.
meeting.
It could be Zoom, via Zoom, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
I think you have to do
But you
Teams.
gotta
Oh,
have,
That's not an
oh,
open
or
meeting.
via,
have
That's
the
not an open
We have
majority
to
in
have some
person.
here.
yeah.
Majority
yeah,
in
yeah,
person
yeah.
has to be
So
before you can do.
how long-
the Zoom.
I guess
Technically,
this
yes,
is an
we would
important
have to have
question.
the in-person quorum still.
Right.
How long do we expect will take? An hour? 2 hours?
I think the first meeting
that'll
is
matter.
really an organizational meeting, isn't it? It's sort of where you kind
Yeah.
of brainstorm and put it all, and then you start drilling down the next.
Then we can do
how-
work
yeah,
sessions.
Yeah.
Can we do an 11 o'clock?
I'm good.
Whatever day it is, 11 would be great.
Okay, did we set the
I don't think we
date?
set a day, but I'm
No.
hoping 11 time frame works for
Um,
people.
Does the 11th, how does that look for anyone?
If we do it, I have a doctor's appointment at a Board of Managers
Wait a minute,
at
what
3.
day did you say you would be back?
Oh,
On the 7th, and you know, you don't need.
And
you
we
know, I
only
don't
need
to be
3
here.
in person, and the
You
rest
guys-
could
the
be
7th
via Zoom.
Oh,
What's that?
You only need 3 in person for the quorum,
And you
and the
have
rest can
meetings
be
that day.
virtual.
On the 11th, I have patients scheduled, but I can Zoom in.
If the 7th works for everybody but me, you should do the 7th.
What about the 10th, that Monday?
like I
can do
said,
the
my
10th.
day is open. I just would prefer
What
an
about the
11
10th?
o'clock.
Oh, no.
how about you?
10th at 11
Christina?
o'clock.
10th?
I
10th,
I see
going once,
patients, but I can Zoom in.
Okay.
I can be there.
going once.
So the only,
So you need some of us
It's,
here in
there's a
person.
commissioners court meeting.
right,
that day.
I
Oh,
mean, I
that's
can,
true.
I don't, I
Oh.
guess say technically, I would like to be there though, because I need to take notes and know
Yeah,
what
for
direction you
sure.
guys are going. I mean, I could step out of Commissioner's Court, Jessica and Caesar can
Of
run.
course, Commissioners
Oh,
Court,
no.
do they usually end in the afternoon?
It's been like
Well,
4:30.
They change their
lately.
schedules now because they do the resolutions in the afternoon where they used to do them in the morning.
No, they moved them back to the morning this week.
Did they really?
Oh.
Oh, because I got to come on the 10th.
Okay,
I got to check with them.
so that's okay. If the 10th
Okay,
works, we
so-
can do that.
We can do the afternoon, I mean, if that's easier. I don't know what everybody else feels like.
Afternoons get very tricky and slippery.
Yeah.
I basically sled down the hill in the afternoon.
I'm sorry,
11th was good for you?
11 at 11? 11th at
At
11?
11?
No, 11th you're seeing patients as well.
but I can Zoom in.
But that's your
Eleven,
doctor's
maybe
appointment.
That's okay, I finish, it's just a dentist appointment, so I may be a little bit late, but that's okay.
What about the 12th then?
I can't do the 12th,
You
sorry.
can't do
Yeah,
that.
she can do.
So 11 at 11, is that the consensus I'm hearing?
That's going to be nice and settled.
I can do that. I can move my day off to that day, so.
Well, and it'll only be an hour,
Oh, that's true.
Commissioner. Yeah.
I have a state
People
meeting.
get done in an hour?
11 and 11.
I think if it's just a planning,
Okay.
yeah. I think
just
I
It's gonna be
think
a lot
the
of
subsequent
talk.
meetings
It's
will
gonna
be a lot
of
longer.
Idea throwing, yeah.
Coming up with a date, that would.
I think,
Yeah.
they players, and we can be really focused.
11 is good. Everybody?
I'm good for the 11th.
Okay, I will secure a space. Is everybody going to be present, just so I know how big of a space we need?
I will be virtual.
I'll be
You'll be
present.
virtual?
Yes.
You'll be present?
Mhm.
I'll be present.
I'll be present.
Present, 3, 4, okay.
Do we want to invite perhaps Ms. Jones or the judge to this meeting, or just right now, just start off us? Okay.
Yeah,
Just,
because I
if you
feel like we
have-
can propose a format. You know, we can make the recommendation.
Wait a minute.
With a
didn't one of
format
them
and
say
the-
that they did a summit?
No, it sounded like Judge Vasquez has been incredible in sort of convening voices together, but I don't believe there's been any actually women's summit at the county level, ever.
That comes to my
Everybody
memory.
just
but-
smile.
Ooh.
Well, that's why they created you all.
Okay,
Okay,
so we-
and then going back to the healthcare information, would you all like me to try, if, I don't know, let's say the invitations don't work out for next month, you want me to try to get on that simultaneously for next month or March and do in conjunction with your work session? And we could do that before you start your work session, since that's gonna be a
That'd be
longer
great.
meeting?
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Yes.
And you know, the other thing, Michelle, is if, I want to visit this place. this,
I do too.
Yeah, definitely.
this
So-
Project Chance.
You
Have
can do that, and I sought Evet's advice on that one. That can be done without posting a meeting. I mean, it's in the regular course of the Chance program's business, and so we can just coordinate a tour with them, just with the understanding that you all can't discuss
Right.
any action items or any other items outside when you are there,
just,
because
yeah,
you will
public
have
visiting.
a walking quorum.
Okay.
All right. Should we identify a date?
Sure.
Because if we don't identify dates,
This is
it's
our
going to
favorite
be
part, isn't it,
June.
Judge?
before we-
Yep.
Let me ask Catherine if there's a day of the week that works best for them.
Do you want to get back to us?
Sure, we'll
Because it
come
may
back
take
to
her
that.
time. Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah, no
much.
worries.
What works with her is going to be
going to be how we do
Yes.
it.
What she
Maybe
has
they're
going.
on Thursdays or Fridays or whatever.
I have been, it's very interesting.
You have what?
I have been to the annex
have
and
you?
seen the program.
Oh, yeah?
I have.
I've been to the
Pods.
annex, but not for that program. I went for the leadership program. The sheriff's department, it was great.
Didn't we also get an open invite for ride-alongs with the
Yes.
sheriffs?
Oh, yeah, huh?
Was that it?
I think.
For what was that?
Ride-alongs with the
Ride-along.
sheriff.
You
I
did
think.
get that invitation.
But it's something else to go on one of those pods.
I think that
That
feels.
is something else.
Yeah, it's different
I
to see
bet.
in person what they
Yeah,
go
it
through
is.
also, the environment.
And especially since when you go in there, you know, all the doors are locked behind you.
Okay, I'll let
When
you
you
know
go
once she
through
responds
exec-
to me. Would you like to go on to the next item?
Let's do that.
Item 4E, discuss and take appropriate action.
Is done. I will have the templates ready to go and hit send next Thursday. If that doesn't pan out, an idea I had was for our government affairs officer to brief you all on our legislative agenda.
Let's do that.
Since that has started?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then for March, we will coordinate that works. Oh, I'm sorry, we're just discussing February,
Yes,
pardon
that'd
me.
be
But does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
I did want to just put out there, put into your heads as far as preventive. I know that we were talking a lot about, everything we're doing is after the fact.
Right.
But, and I'm sure you all are aware, but something we can tap into probably quickly and not with any expense, is that all the school districts have an orientation. So do all, community college holds a 2-day, for students, and UTEP as well. If somehow we can, make recommendations to them to be somehow in that orientation, whether it's the center to do a presentation, we have healthy relationships presentations, things like that, but maybe bring in all the superintendents and let them know how important it is.
To the summit.
Yes,
Or-
to
yeah.
let them know that this is a portion they should be doing, not only with instructors, but also with students as part of their orientation. That's probably missing, especially at the college level as well. Because those relationships is where things start, and they're the first line. A lot of the reporting goes to counselors, teachers. They see relationships happening, boyfriend, girlfriend, things like that. So just throwing that out there.
Agreed, yeah.
Not that they don't have enough on their plate, right?
You take a lot more.
I just think it's something they can implement also into the classroom. They all have law enforcement programs. They can even use their own personnel. I mean, I'm just suggesting, it's nothing that
Yeah.
costs them.
Yeah.
And the resources are there. It's just a recommendation from us maybe to go in there,
Okay.
or for them to have it, I mean, yeah.
You're saying for future recommendations?
Right.
Okay, got it.
To make a recommendation to all the school districts as well as the colleges to put that in as part of a preventive measure that maybe they're missing, because that's why, not that that's why, but that could be what, so much is happening after the fact. We're looking at now
Oh, yeah.
after things happen, but maybe that could be a very good preventive measure.
Yeah, I think you're wrapping around what Commissioner Harkle said
Yes,
earlier
that's what I was
about,
what
yeah.
she was talking about. A whole other portion is preventive.
Yeah.
That'd probably be a good stakeholder to invite to the summit as well. And then I imagine there will be many recommendations after that summit.
Yes.
We can add. Okay, if we are good for the agenda items for February, if we could go on to the next item, please.
Okay, so no action for 4E. 4F, discuss and take appropriate action for the 2025 Women's Commission meeting date, time, and frequency.
Morning, Commissioners. Michelle Cochran with County Administration. This is just an administrative item. If you recall, we did this initially when you all were established, and we just put it on each calendar year for the commissions or boards. In the event there are now conflicts on the set date and time, if there are not, or currently right now, you are meeting the third Wednesday of every month at 9:30 a.m. If that still works, happy to continue that, but just want to formalize that on the record.
Mine's already on the calendar.
Automated, please don't change it.
Very good.
Yes.
We'll remain on the third Wednesday of the month at 9:30 a.m. For the Women's Commission.
Perfect.
Okay, and I believe that completes all the items unless you want to go ahead and go back to the previous item.
Which one?
Were you waiting on
He hasn't replied just yet. Sorry, Jessica. Thank you so much.
It's okay to take a few days
Yeah,
and
no
email
worries.
us, I think.
Okay, I'll coordinate that via email.
Never been able to, yeah.
Okay, this
Fingers
completes,
crossed.
this completes all the items on today's agenda. Would you all like to make a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I second it.
Commissioner, Chavira?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiscareno?
Aye.
Commissioner Chu? Aye. Commissioner Byrd?
Aye.
Commissioner Paz?
Aye.
Commissioner Hargrove?
Aye.
Chairwoman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Motion carries. This completes today's meeting of the Women's Commission at 11:22 a.m.